Want to look leaner and be stronger? Then check out the Nuva Bar. It actually helps you work out. The Nuva Bar is the compact, lightweight way to regain freedom and balance. It targets your lower body, upper body, abs, and core without getting down on the floor. Best of all, the Nuva Bar is now on sale for just $99.99 plus free shipping and comes with interchangeable resistance bands with 7 full workouts. So if you want a trimmer waistline to look like you're 40 in your 60s, get the Nuva Bar and forget about crunches on the floor. Go to nuvabar.com. That's NUVABAR.com.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Just announced, comedy sensation Daniel Tosh is bringing his hilarious stand-up show to the Twin Cities. Don't miss your chance to see him live on June 19th at the State Theater. Tickets go on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. Get the full details now at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Past Common Man program on Comedy's Genevieve. Time now for 534.
Yada. Time now for
Yada.
5 questions. Well, actually 3, but 5 sounds like more than 4. Question number 1. Profound or preposterous?
Yeah, the Wolves beat a depleted Atlanta Hawks team 100-92 last night at Target Center, but Wolves were not happy with their performance. The Hawks were without several key players, including Trae Young. Anthony Edwards said after the game, quote, "They didn't have like a go-to guy on the floor. Everything was random. The hardest team to beat in the NBA is when there's no go-to guy." They did a good job. They had a lot of randomness. Common is Ant's comment that the hardest team in the NBA to beat is when there's no go-to guy. Is that
profound or preposterous?
Do you think the Denver Nuggets would be tougher to beat if Joker wasn't in the lineup? How about if Kobe wasn't in the lineup? How about if Michael Jordan wasn't? Do you think those go-to guys, do you think it'd be easier to beat those? It's literally preposterous. Ant just says stuff because he's young, he's fun, he's hip now with it, and wow, he's wild and young and free. It makes no sense at all. For me, it's just further proof of what I've said before. And I know I get pushback by the basketball community. They say, why don't you think it's basketball is the only place they don't try hard for the entire game? What about hockey? What about football? You're not going to tell me that sometimes they don't skate back very hard. Well, okay, maybe, I don't know. Basketball is just, it's so obvious. Here's what happened. They knew, was it Atlanta they beat? They knew Atlanta was depleted. They knew Atlanta had no chance to win that game. And so they kind of just went through the motions and did just enough to win the game. That's all they did. Otherwise, if you're a serious, how do you play like they did against Denver, where Gobert's brilliant? The whole team plays probably their best all-around game all year, from what I'm told. And you can just look at the box score and see that in the final score. They blew Denver. Denver had won like 5, 6, 7 games. They blew Denver out. Then you play your next game against a depleted Atlanta team, and you win by 10. And that's the thing. They were never in any danger of losing that game. I don't understand. So a win's a win. It's just I just wait for postseason. So I don't know. But no, I think it's preposterous what he said. I do.
Can I give one small little defense to Ant's comment?
All right, go ahead.
I love playing poker. It's been a while. And here's where we make fun of how bad of a poker player I am. But when I would play poker, I hated playing against the worst players, like players that didn't know what they're doing, because if they don't know what they're doing, how can I read what they are doing? Does that make sense? Like I would rather play against a good, not great. I'd rather play like a good player that you can figure out and get a good read on them. Whereas the bad player just doesn't. So in his defense, like if they don't have a go-to guy, then you don't know where the ball is going to go. No, but I would then argue, and maybe we should learn something from that then. Because what if you're a go-to guy, but your team is also random and where you're going to go with the ball? What if the ball doesn't get sticky with the go-to guy all the time and you use all your teammates and they don't know which guy's going to shoot it? Then you could two birds, one stone. You have a go-to guy and your team's random.
What guy did you hate playing cards against?
The really, really bad player that didn't know what they're doing.
You would have hated playing against me then because I was the really, really bad guy that didn't know what he was doing, but he was just pretending he was the really, really bad guy that didn't know what he was doing. Oh, my gosh. It's an old line, but I use it every time when I sit down at the table. Hey, before we get started, can you tell me, does a flush beat a straight? You throw that out right away and they go, oh, my gosh, he's the fish. There's an old saying in poker I just made up, tend to be after 30 minutes, you don't know who the fish is, it's you. Yeah, I think you told me PA kind of plays that way where he's loose. He'll just play loose. I play relatively loose. It just depends. It's when I sit down at the table, I do the same thing. I do a scouting report. I look and I go, okay, it's tend to be in Cove, guys that are, fairly adept at the game, right? So my strategy is going to be different than if I'm playing with, who can we take cheap shots at, Tim? If I'm playing against Sauce and give me somebody else that we think is kind of dopey.
Brett Blakemore?
And Brett Blakemore. I mean, the strategy is just going to be different playing those guys, right? But I always like to do the old, sometimes you just bet when you don't have a really good hand. And then you show the cards. God, I thought I had a better hand than this. I mean, this guy's nobody. It's called setting the trap. It's baiting. It's like when they, when you use like a daredevil or a Lindy or a spinner on your fishing line, on your Zebco 202 or 404, whichever you prefer. It's just setting the bait. But yeah, I guess I see what you're saying.
Question number 2. It's time now for the lowdown in Dinkytown.
The Gophers men's basketball team takes their 3-game winning streak into East Lansing tonight as they will match up with number 7 Michigan State. Minnesota lost to the Spartans 90-72 at the Barn back on December 4th. You can hear this game tonight right here on the Fan. Opening tap at 7 o'clock. Common, which Gophers team will we see tonight? The one that struggled in their last meeting against Michigan State or the one that's won 3 straight?
Well, I know Fish Rock Factory West Side, their headline said, Michigan State going to see a different Gophers team than they saw last time. No, it's the same team. It's no different at all. They're just playing better right now. And that doesn't mean that will continue. Michigan State is ranked what? 12?
Number 7.
Now, I know Oregon was ranked 15. Matter of fact, I took a picture of the storming of the court and tweeted it out, and one of the responses was, it's just Oregon. Well, they were ranked 15th in the country.
Yeah.
So, what do you mean it's just Oregon? Now, could they have been overrated? Maybe, but they were the 15th team in the country. Wasn't like they beat, a team that's unranked with a losing record. And so, will their success in the last 3 games pay dividends? I would think confidence is big in any sport, tend to be, right? I've always thought that's a little overrated. Even when you're not playing well, you should still have confidence in your ability if you believe in yourself. But I can understand where you're like, well, we're struggling, it's not working. But now, playing as well as they have been, playing a grittier, physical kind of game, which is what you got to do in the Big Ten. Yeah, I think Michigan State, while they'll see the exact same team, they might see
a more confident team.
Yeah, more confident, and maybe not even
cohesive.
Yeah, team. And maybe not even a team with a more considered effort, because I'm sure they were trying before. I don't think they just went in there. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. That's tonight.
Tonight at 7.
I think programming predicament solved for me. I think I'll watch Gopher basketball tonight.
And that's it for today's edition of 5 questions. Well, actually 3 questions, but 5 sounds like more than 4.
Hey, the Fan wants to give you a shot to put $1,000 in your hand with our national cash contest. Enter the keyword Bills at KFAN.com now for a shot at winning. That keyword is Bills. Enter now at KFAN.com.
I was looking for a tease, looking at my prep sheet, and I couldn't think of a tease. So we'll just, how about this? Controversial Vikings news, other side of the break here on the Grum.
Want to look leaner and be stronger? Then check out the Nuva Bar. It actually helps you work out. The Nuva Bar is the compact, lightweight way to regain freedom and balance. It targets your lower body, upper body, abs, and core without getting down on the floor. Best of all, the Nuva Bar is now on sale for just $99.99 plus free shipping and comes with interchangeable resistance bands with 7 full workouts. So if you want a trimmer waistline to look like you're 40 in your 60s, get the Nuva Bar and forget about crunches on the floor. Go to nuvabar.com. That's NUVABAR.com.
Host of the Bad Friends podcast and comedian Andrew Santino is coming to the Pantages Theater in February. Tickets for his newly added February 21st, 9:30 p.m. show are on sale now. For full details, head over to KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
I was in one of my weight reduction modes a couple of years back. And I was telling a buddy of mine, I said, I'm eating a lot of fruit, like pineapple. And he says, whoa, pineapple's got so much sugar in it, it's like eating a Snickers bar. There's a lot of sugar in fruit. And I said, why don't you introduce me to one of your fat fruit friends? they don't exist. Copyright Nate Bargatze.
I always love that one.
This is a text message that came in to the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line at 64686. Common Montgomery National opening up Thursday with a 2-man scramble. Noon start on Friday. Greg says, hi, I'm sitting in the clubhouse right now. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Montgomery Golf Club in Montgomery, which I played when Baby Brother Peter came back for the holidays. Near Thanksgiving. We played like the day before the Friday of Thanksgiving. Was it Wednesday before the day? I think it was Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving. And so they're actually opening up to me. There is golf to be played. So just wanted to let you know.
That's crazy.
If you're into playing golf at this time of the year, there you go. I tend to be, often, I get it. I mean, and I'm certainly not alone here. Blowhard, know-it-all talk show hosts, and that's what all of them are. Anybody that hosts a talk show, be either sports, political, or whatever the case may be, they are blowhard know-it-alls. They have all the answers. They've got it all figured out. I'm the only major market radio talk show host in the country that can change their mind and admit they are wrong. Most others can't. It's a sign of weakness, right? And so oftentimes, listeners will attempt to put you in a box when they think they've, gotcha. Which leads me to, I'm the Harry Houdini of radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, step right up and see the Harry Houdini of radio, Dan the Common Man Cole. Watch as he escapes being boxed in by listeners, celebrities, or even Tennessee. Step right up and watch in amazement.
Here we are, someone trying to box me up on the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line at 64686. This is a rather easy escape. This is sort of like, if they handcuff me and put me into a cage and drop me into the deep end of a swimming pool, not a problem. If there's nothing to travel fatigue in sports, then why do you continuously point out the benefits of 2 weeks off in the NFL? Well, it's because they're two different things. We're not even talking about the same thing. The 2 weeks off, the benefit of the 2 weeks off isn't the travel. The benefit of the 2 weeks off in the National Football League is you hear every player say it, and I tend to believe it's true. When you get to the midway point of the season and beyond, everybody's got some kind of an owie. There's something.
Yeah.
There's a sprain here. There's a break there. Everybody is beat up. So when you get 2 weeks off, you get time to heal the injuries and feel better. That's what we're talking about. It's not the travel. It has nothing to do with it. These are two completely and entirely different situations, two entirely different subjects. If you don't believe me, why can't you believe Giannis Antetokounmpo or Bill Guerin or many of the other athletes and front office people and coaches and managers who have rolled their eyes, shrugged their shoulders, and shook their head at the idea that travel is difficult and it's really painful. Back in the olden days, back in Major League Baseball, back in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, they traveled by train. Now, they didn't travel cross country because originally most of the teams were located on the East Coast. And then, as you know, head yes, young man, go west, young man. Haven't you been told California's full of whiskey, women, and gold, right? But before that, but still they had to travel on trains. It's a little bit different. Taking the Chattanooga choo-choo to Philadelphia to play the Athletics. Why you'd be on the Chattanooga choo-choo when you're going to Philadelphia, I don't know, but that was just the way it worked back then. So, no, you've not boxed me up. They're two completely different things.
He's done it again. Yes, another amazing escape by the common man.
One of the best opens and closes in radio.
Yeah, and I thought the close was going to be a little longer because I was in the midst of chewing my food. Here's a text. Where did this one go? Give me 1 second. I know I should highlight them, but I didn't even know I was going to use this. It was something to... Oh, here. How does one get the job of Lambo car warmer-upper? I wonder who does do the... because Antetokounmpo says that when the charter jet lands, all the players' cars are just sitting there in front of the airplane on the tarmac, and they're running and they're warmed up. Somebody's got that job of car warmer-upper guy. I would assume there's other responsibilities. It's not like you answer an ad to the Milwaukee Bucks website that says car warmer-upper. You go, what is that? Your responsibility is, it would be a part-time job, right? Because they only have 41 games on the road each year until they get to postseason if they do. So it's not even a full-time job, right? And then, I don't know, do they, my guess is it might even be somebody with the airport, right? Because what do you think? Like, let's say when the Wolves fly the charter, do they all drive their own personal cars over to, they must, right? They just park in the Signature parking lot, right? It's not like they have to take the bus from Target and go there and get on the plane like they do with, when the whole football team travels, I think that's what they do because there's so many players. But I think what they do is they just go over to Signature. And so there's probably somebody that works at the airport. That's probably part of his job responsibility. You're the guy that has to do the flag, they have the orange flags and they're waving which way the plane should go. And prior to the arrival of the plane, they're probably warming up the Lambos and the Range Rovers and all the rest. But it would be a good gig if you could get it. I just don't think that job is available in that way, shape, or form. There was one more text message that I thought raised some interesting issue. Here it is. Where did it go? Give me the music. I got it. Thank you. Oh, this wasn't the one, but I like this. Did Brian O'Neill make the Pro Bowl? Someone just sent a text message. Did Brian O'Neill make the Pro Bowl?
By the way, Drake May has just been now a replacement in the Pro Bowl.
Oh, so is he?
Which quality rookie season, but that lets you know where on the pecking order some of these Pro Bowlers are that get in. Yeah.
Here's the one I was looking for. And I might even wait for Rose because we're up against a break right now. And I did want to talk about three-peats because there haven't been that many three-peats in United States sports. Tend to be. Want to take a look at a couple of them and tell me which ones you like. But Goat Guy says, rumors swirling about the Wolves trading Julius Randle for Jimmy Buckets. I don't know if I believe that rumor. Though I will say this, if you were looking at making a run, and I know, look, Jimmy can be a pain in the knee, you know where. I understand that. I was one of the few that rallied to his defense on that infamous day at the practice facility in which Jimmy snapped and took the second stringers and played a scrimmage against Big Meow and all the rest and beat him, and then he was traded, and the rest is history. I just like Jimmy. To me, he's a gamer. I really think he's got a lot of talent. I think if you were telling me, if you're talking about trying to win the title here, I think he got a better chance with Butler than Randall. But the thing is with Jimmy now, he's got to be mid-30s, is he not? I mean, he might be north of 35.
He is 35.
Yeah. So now you start talking about.
That's a 1 year, 2 year thing.
Yeah, it is.
You ain't getting past next year with him.
But I do think he would be. If you were saying who do you think would give the Wolves a better chance to make a run? If you had Randall or Buckets, I would say Buckets because I just like his attitude and the way he plays. Tennessee's got the Wild today, and there's a lot to talk about and a lot to get to, right?
Yeah, this is Wild Today, brought to you by Jim Beam, the official bourbon of the Minnesota Wild. The general manager for your Wild, Bill Guerin, joined the Paul Allen Project today to talk about some Kirill Kaprizov news.
Yeah, the press conference was about Kirill, and he's gonna be out week to week with a lower body injury that is going to require a surgery to fix it. Disappointing, yes. We're a much better team with him in the lineup, of course. But hey, look, we've got big games to play. We're on a big road trip. We've still got a good team, and we just got to keep plowing forward.
So to recap, Kaprizov, lower body injury, expected to have surgery on Friday, according to Michael Russo of The Athletic. And then the Bill Guerin, the GM, said that Kaprizov out a minimum of 4 weeks, though did say it was not season-ending injury. The Wild are in Toronto tomorrow night. Guerin also said that Jonas Brodin and Marcus Johansson will not make that trip. Wild take on the Maple Leafs tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. That was Wild Today, brought to you by Jim Beam, a crowd pleaser since 1795.
Want to look leaner and be stronger? Then check out the Nuva Bar. It actually helps you work out. The Nuva Bar is the compact, lightweight way to regain freedom and balance. It targets your lower body, upper body, abs, and core without getting down on the floor. Best of all, the Nuva Bar is now on sale for just $99.99 plus free shipping and comes with interchangeable resistance bands with 7 full workouts. So if you want a trimmer waistline to look like you're 40 in your 60s, get the Nuva and forget about crunches on the floor. Go to nuvabar.com. That's NUVABAR.com.
Heads up, comedy fans. The one and only Sebastian Maniscalco is coming to XL Energy Center. Get ready for an unforgettable night of laughter and fun when he takes the stage on Friday, February 14th. Check out our contest page for your chance to win a pair of tickets. Head over to KFAN.com. Give our contest for your chance to win.
Past Common Man program. I'm Comedy's Tennessee. The legendary one, Mark Rosen, will join us not long from now. This is another edition of Lazy List Radio. We're going to take a look at the list of three-peats. And there haven't been a lot of them, Tennessee. It's a very short list. Kansas City accomplished a feat that had never been done before this past weekend. Getting back to the NFL's championship game following back-to-back Super Bowl wins. No other team, after back-to-back wins, well, that can't be. After back-to-back wins, yeah, because Buffalo did it after back-to-back losses. Getting back to the NFL's championship game following back-to-back big game wins. The story goes on to read, next up is the rare championship three-peat that hasn't been accomplished in the NFL, NBA, NHL, or Major League Baseball more than 20 years. That's the three-peat. The last to do it, Tennessee?
LA Lakers.
Yep. Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant in the 2000 through 2002 NBA Finals. Only 2 NFL teams have ever won 3 straight championships. Do you know who those teams are? It's pre-Super Bowl. Because
then I wouldn't know.
Because that's where you can take a guess. Who do you think?
The Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, that's correct. Because that's where people sometimes often, I don't know if it's a confusion thing. They don't seem to realize that there was, before the Super Bowl era, before they came up with the big game, you had your NFL championship game from way back in the 1920s. They crowned NFL champions.
How many teams were playing back then?
There were a lot of teams. Not a lot. I don't know for sure. You'd have to look back on it.
And how did they land one in Green Bay?
Well, because there were a lot of smaller town ones. There was like, before the Detroit Lions became the Detroit Lions, they were the Portsmouth Spartans. I think Portsmouth is in Ohio, I think. So these smaller cities, smaller towns, if you will, had pro teams, and then they migrated to bigger cities, I think is how it went in many cases. Some of the teams probably just went defunct. But yeah, Green Bay is unique. I mean, it's got to be one of the smallest, if not, it is, right? It's the smallest metropolitan area to have a pro team. Green Bay did it 1929, 1930, and 1931. These were the days before television. This was about the same time that they were building pyramids in Egypt. That's how long ago it was that Green Bay was winning championships. And that was when there was no championship game at all. It was just determined by the end of the season. Regular season's over. They didn't have like an extra game on top of it, apparently. It says Green Bay did it from 1929 through 31 when the champion was determined by regular season record. Then they did it again, 1965, 66, and 67. Lombardi's Packers won the final NFL championship game before the start of the big game era in 1966 and won the first 2 games between AFL and NFL champs. Since the end of that Green Bay run, there have been 7 three-peats in the 4 biggest North American sports leagues. Oakland Athletics, 72-74. Now, I remember that because that was just prior to my Haight-Ashbury days. We talked a little bit about it yesterday with those 72 Tigers lost to the Oakland Athletics in the playoffs. I think then it was just still East versus West. You had an Eastern Division winner and a Western Division winner, and then you played in the playoffs. And the Athletics won. They had Mr. October, and I don't even think he was deemed or was even nicknamed Mr. October at that point. Reggie Jackson, Catfish Hunter, and Vita Blue. They beat the Reds, the Mets, and the Dodgers. And they joined the Yankees as the only baseball franchises to win 3 consecutive titles, 3 years in a row. Montreal Canadiens tend to be your favorite hockey team this side of the Minnesota Wild. They dominated the NHL for decades with 23 Stanley Cups. But remember, there were only 6 teams.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
Yeah, it doesn't really, does it?
No, it's not the same.
But that says the majority of those came in the pre-expansion original 6 area, but the 6 era. But the Canadiens put together an impressive run in the late 70s under Scotty Bowman, led by dynamic scorer Guy Leffler. 2 cup-clinching goals by Jacques Lemaire, Hall of Fame defenseman Larry Robinson, and goalie Kenny Dryden.
Man, some big names. Montreal
raced to 4 straight titles with a 48-10 record in the 4 postseason runs. 48-10 in the postseason. And that's 4 titles. So did they win 4? Yeah, 4 straight titles.
Yeah.
So that's better than a 3-peat. That's a 3-peat plus 1. I remember those days because again, that was my Haight-Ashbury days were just beginning. Oh, I go back. I know all the old names. You know, the Jacques Leperrier and you know all the Walt Tkachuk, all these guys that played back in the olden days. If you started listing their names, I can tell you remember them. The Islanders tend to be.
Yep.
Says as soon as the Canadiens' dynastic run ended, The Islanders started one of their own as the last hockey team to win at least 3 straight titles. Al Arbor's squad was led by wing Mike Bossy, defenseman Dennis Potvin, and goalie Billy Smith. The run started with an overtime clincher by Bobby Nystrom against Philly in the 80 Stanley Cup final, and then they lost only once in 3 other trips to the final. How's that possible? Chicago Bulls, they did it twice, Tennessee.
Yeah.
91, 92, 93, 96, 97, 98. After coming up short in back-to-back seasons against the Pistons, Jordan, the Bulls broke through in the 91 NBA Finals, beating Magic. They dominated for most of the decade, repeating as champs in 92 and 93. For the NBA's first 3-peat since Boston won 3 straight titles from 59 to 66. A brief step back in 94, 95. Why? Mike decided to play baseball.
Yes.
And Chicago just wasn't quite as good. Chicago won a then record 72 regular season games when he returned on the way to the title in 96 and won 2 more before Jordan temporarily retired and broke up the team. Hated Yankees did it.
I was just saying Chicago, too. You mentioned Montreal winning 4 in a row. You do wonder if MJ doesn't retire there because he was in his prime.
Yep.
If they extend that past 3. And you wonder how long they would have gone on if he hadn't.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that because they won 6 altogether in the joint, right? 3 and then 2 years off and then 3 more in a row. Yeah, now
the second year off, he did come back. Was that middle of the season or before the playoffs? Because he was wearing like number 45.
Okay.
And they lost in the playoffs. But he had a little rust.
Yankees won 4 straight series from 1936 to 1939. And then 5 in a row from 49 to 53. But they are the only team to win 3 straight World Series in the free agency era. The only team. 3 straight in the free agency era. Derek Jeter, Mariano Rivera, Andy Pettitte, and Bernie Williams. And those were all homegrown players, it says in the story. So that was, even though it was free agency era, those were guys that they built on their own, apparently.
Would you consider the Yankees just the most successful sports franchise, period?
Yeah, I think they might be. As a 27 world champions, 27 world championships, I think is their number.
I mean, in my lifetime, even though they haven't been winning as many World Series, it's not like they're having losing seasons.
Yeah.
They're not bottoming out at any point.
I think it's 20. I think it's 27 world championships for the Yankees, if I'm not mistaken. I know the Celtics. I don't know who's second. Maybe you could Google that and see. I don't know. It might be the Celtics.
Montreal, probably.
Yeah, Montreal or
that doesn't count though. It's original 6.
Right. And then the LA Lakers, as we mentioned, from 2000 to 2002 with O'Neal and Bryant. So it's been a while, Tennessee. It's been over 20 years since anybody's three-peated. I'm not going to bet against Kansas. I don't bet anyways, but if push comes to shove, yeah, more than likely they're going to win the game. But I do think Philadelphia presents a potential challenge. Their defense is as good as it gets. I think they're either the number 1 or number. And again, this is going by the points allowed, yards allowed, passing and rushing, and that can be a bit deceiving. Sometimes those stats are.
Celtics have won 18, by the way.
18.
Lakers 17.
Okay. What was I just saying?
Sorry for interrupting.
No, you didn't interrupt. I was just. Oh, Chiefs. I think Philadelphia, with as good as their defense is, and with Saquon and Hurts is talented, they got some receivers. I think I put it this way, Tennessee. Will you be as shocked if Philadelphia beats Kansas City as you were when Washington beat Detroit? You're just shocked? Or wouldn't you be as shocked?
I wouldn't be shocked at all, no.
I wouldn't be shocked at all either. So I think they have that opportunity to do that. Someone sent a text message here as well that says, and this is water under the bridge. We've covered this before. The Vikings won the NFL championship in 1969. They did. You can say the Minnesota Vikings did win a league championship. The only asterisk and caveat is they were doing the big game at that point. They had to play in the fourth big game, but that's before the merger. So there was an NFL and an AFL. And the AFL teams never played the NFL teams during the regular season. It was after that big game when Minnesota got crushed by Kansas City, when the Chiefs just matriculated down the field, where they just kept running 65 toss power trap over and over and over again. As a matter of fact, NB, if you look back on any of that film, oftentimes when you're practicing defenses and such, you use chairs. The Vikings defense looked like chairs.
I always love that
against
one.
Kansas City and got beat 23-7. It was the following year, 1977, which had the AFC-NFC merger. But the Vikings did win a league championship. And I think it was against the Browns, and they destroyed the Browns. I think the Vikings finished 12-2 that season, and they played the Browns in the NFL championship game. I think they put 52 up on them in that game, if I'm not mistaken. So they did win a league championship, but it still wasn't the final game of the season. They still said, hey, let's do that little game where we have your AFL team play our NFL team. And the Vikings were.
Did the AFL and NFL at the time have like the exact same rules and how the game was played, or did they play differently?
That's a good question.
Were the field dimensions the same?
The field dimensions were all the same. I think all the rules were basically the same. I think
they just had two people that came up. It'd be just like having a PGA and a LIV, and then all of a sudden they just came together someday.
That's exactly what happened. And I think the AFL, they were known more for passing the ball. They were the league that started really throwing the ball more often than running the ball. Because that's where Darryl LaMonica came from, the Oakland Raiders. They called him the Mad Bomber. He was their quarterback, and he was good. And then Hadel, all these guys threw the ball. Lenny Dawson threw it a lot.
So when they merged, how did they decide AFC, NFC?
Well,
or was it just NFL and AFL were just...
Yeah, the AFL became the AFC.
Got it.
And the NFL became the NFC. And then they... Yeah, that's how it went down. God, those Viking teams were good back in the 70s, tend to be. Defensively, I
wouldn't know.
They were so good defensively. They really were. I mean, those were the good old days, even though they ended up going 0-4 in the big game. Those are the big... I know everybody has fallen in love with the 98 team, and rightly so. That offense was as good as any offense with Moss and the whole thing. But those 70 teams their defense was so good. That was the golden age of the Vikings, I think. I think a lot of people are hoping we return to a new we return to those thrilling days of yesterday. Maybe not defensively, but I mean, just as we become a better team. And I guess it's always distinctly possible. But those they were like prohibitive favorites to beat Kansas City. I think they were like a 2-touchdown favorite going into that game. Well, when the Jets got beat by Baltimore, when the Jets beat Baltimore and Joe Namath, the guarantee, Baltimore was 18.5-point favorites. That's like a college game, right? And those are the kind of odds you see in college football. Tennessee's playing Norton State, and they're an 18.5-point favorite, right?
So was Baltimore in the NFC at that time?
Yeah, they were an NFC team. They were one of the original. Yeah, they were. They had.
When did they switch over? When they went to Indy or what?
You got me there.
Trying to learn.
Yeah, well, I think when they did expansion teams, I think that's what happened. They decided to expand teams, and then Pittsburgh and Baltimore went from the old NFL, and they moved over into the AFL, or AFC. I think is how it went. Wasn't it? I'm almost certain Pittsburgh did. And I don't know if it was, I don't know if they offered it up to teams, and you have to, if they volunteer. I don't think they forced them. As I said, who wants to move to the AFL or the AFC? And I think they raised their hand and said, we'll go. I think that's how it went down. But
my favorite was when I was younger, back when they had 3 divisions in each conference, that the Atlanta Falcons were in the NFC West.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. Well, and back in those, and I know we're doing olden day stuff here, but I should have
back in my day.
We should have waited for Rosen because he likes olden day stuff. But Baltimore, when they went to that big game, Johnny Unitas wasn't even their starting quarterback. As legendary as he was, Earl Morrall was the guy, because I think Unitas got injured how did the story go? I don't think Unitas was getting long in the tooth. He was near the end of his career. But Morrill was the starting quarterback for number 15, Earl Morrill. And the Jets were beating him, and then they put Unitas into the game in the second half to try to get some offense going. And I think Unitas led, because I think the Colts scored late in that game to make it 16-7. And I think that was Unitas that led the team to the score. And, back then, I think Namath got the MVP. But back then, even though the AFL was throwing the ball more, you look at Namath's numbers in that big game, I don't think he threw for more than 215 yards, 210 yards. I don't think he threw the ball more than 13, 14 times in the game because they used to run it quite a bit back then. Even then, the AFL would keep the ball on the ground. They had a backfield of Emerson Boozer and Matt Snell was there. And then they had two really good wide receivers, George Sauer and Don Maynard. Maynard's in the Hall of Fame. And so is Namath, but that's it. But those were back in the days, tend to be. But again, you didn't see the three-peats very often. You think that Chiefs will get a three-peat here? Do you think they're going to beat Philly? Is that if you're going to take a guess? Not who you're rooting for. I know you want Kansas City to three-peat, but do you think they're going to do it? Or?
Well, I made the mistake last week of my philosophy used to be you just never bet against Pat Mahomes until he proves me wrong. Mm-hmm. And I got into the Josh Allen Buffalo mystique of they're due. It's going to happen one of these years. Kansas City can't win them all. And then Kansas City goes on to win. So I'm just going to say I'm not betting against Pat Mahomes anymore.
Yeah.
Offensively, I talked about it the other day. They might not have that star power, but they probably have more depth on offense than they've had in quite some time with so many different guys from both running and receiving they can get the ball to. Defense, and defensively, they got elite corners, which probably helps when you're going to try to, your first thing you're going to have to do when you go against Philadelphia's offense is how do we stop Saquon Barkley? Well, Kansas City's corners might be good enough where you can just be like, you know what? I know they got A.J. Brown and they got Devontae Smith, but you guys are going to be out on an island and we're going to do everything we can to stop the run, and they might at least have the personnel to do that. So I'm going to go Chiefs.
One thing we didn't talk about in regards to the NFC Championship game from this weekend, Eagles versus Washington. I did not know this rule existed, and I'm thinking you didn't either, but maybe you knew. Philadelphia's got first and goal or second and goal, whatever it is, from like the 1 yard line.
Yep.
So it's the tush push.
Yep.
So Washington, they know they got to stop it. So they got the guys in line. They get called for not one, not two, not three, but 4 offsides, right? And after the second one, I think it was, did they get warned twice or just the one time?
I think they got warned twice.
They got warned twice where the referee came on the microphone and says, we've told Washington, you're in danger of us just awarding them a score. I'd never heard that rule before. I had no idea it existed, but it makes sense.
It makes sense for that situation.
Yes, because the team is obviously, they need to stop them every game.
Jump the snap every time.
So just every time, and you just kind of hope that you time it right just once, because
you can't really lose yardage anymore.
No, it's like they'd have to get out a ruler and measure by the centimeter, right?
Millimeters.
And so yeah, has that ever happened? That would be my other question. Maybe I should have asked you before the show. That's what Abbott always says. You could have just asked her before. I didn't know I was going to talk about this. How was I supposed to know this was going to come up? I wonder if that's ever been called before in the National Football League, where they've tossed a flag and said they get a touchdown because you've been offsides too many times in a row. Maybe Mark Rosen knows. He's a football historian. He joins us next on the Common Man program on the Fan.
Want to look leaner and be stronger? Then check out the Nuva Bar. It actually helps you work out. The Nuva Bar is the compact, lightweight way to regain freedom and balance. It targets your lower body, upper body, abs, and core without getting down on the floor. Best of all, the Nuva Bar is now on sale for just $99.99 plus free shipping, and comes with interchangeable resistance bands with 7 full workouts. So if you want a trimmer waistline to look like you're 40 in your 60s, get the Nuva Bar and forget about crunches on the floor. Go to NuvaBar.com. That's NuvaBar.com.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.